Support Wrestletalk!
Give us a subscribe.
Thank you for your awesome support on Patreon, the Rocket Dan Van Sky. Hello and welcome to the Wrestletalk Trustworthy News. I am El Fakador Laurie Blake. Coming up on today's jam-packed episode, WWE makes the draft official, Baron Corbin shoots on NXT call-ups, fans and just about everyone. Such a heel. And Big Cass reportedly caused another backstage incident over the weekend. And you can jump to any of those stories by hitting the time codes in the description down below. And if you do happen to pop down there, why not answer our question of the day? Which 5 superstars would you draft to your show if you were running one of the WWE brands? You could have a supercard of 5 of the biggest talents in the world, or just No Way Jose 5 times, so it's no way, I'm living without you, say Jose. One thing that's worth adding to your roster of reading material, otherwise known as the magazine rack, is the Wrestletalk magazine. The brand new issue featuring the lesser-spined hipster Christopher Jericho on the front cover will be available in shops in the UK on the 19th of September, 3 days from now. And you can pick up all of our previous issues for just £15 plus postage and packaging by following the link in the video description below. It is a small price to pay for some of the finest wrestling journalism in all of the land. Not a small price to pay, though, is how much WWE say they are fining Becky Lynch for basically tapping that referee with a steel chair during her match with Sasha Banks at Clash of Champions. The company said that Becky would have to pay $10,000 for the accidental bump, which frankly looked like it landed with all the force of a lint roller and actually probably left your man's shirt cleaner than it started. But hey-ho, it's a kayfabe world, and this added little bit of drama does mean that we're not done with the Becky-Sasha feud, which is a really good thing in my book. Not so, though, in the books of one Kevin Owens, who is pointing out some of the flagrant hypocrisy in WWE's treatment of official-based incidents. He tweeted to say, I guess Becky's fired. Look, Kev, you're gonna have to get over it. What happens at Cock stays at Cock. Someone who isn't fired or leaving, even though most people seem to think he was, is Luke Harper, who also wanted to, who also, spoilers, made his return to WWE at Clash of Champions last night, helping Eric Rowan defeat Roman Reigns in the no DQ match, which I totally said was going to happen on the prediction show on Friday.
Something like a Daniel Bryan and a Harper appear, you know, and
I don't see that happening.
In your face, Luke. You don't know Cock like I know Cock. Wait a minute. That didn't come out right. Harper's return, though, was a surprise to many, especially those without my prophetic powers, and it even shocked some within WWE. The company reportedly kept the whole thing rather hush-hush from most people backstage, according to PW Insider, who said his name was not listed on the format sheet and he was kept hidden backstage until it was time to come out and help Rowan, which meant that no pesky leakers could let the story out before the right time. And it was worth it because it was just about the only decent thing to come out of that match. Oh, I'm big, I ran into something, oh no! Now, if your name happens to be Matthew Riddle, you might want to cover your ears, bro. Because it sounds like Goldberg has his sights set on a different ex-MMA fighter turned pro wrestler for a match, one Cain Velasquez. Now, Cain made his debut for AAA at Triple Mania in August and already has some awesome moves in his arsenal, which was enough for Bill to sit up and take notice. Goldberg told Helen Yee in an interview, "Cain's doing great. I saw a little bit of the coverage of his match. Put it this way, anyone in professional sports who was in that sport, wrestling's a great alternative. It's a perfect transition for Cain Velasquez. I'm not going to say it was easy for Velasquez, but it was easier than someone who's never done anything like that before. It's nice to see a guy like that face adversity in one business and pleasure in another." So in short, he's basically chuffed for Cain. But made sure to follow up with, "I'd still smash him in the ring. I'd wrestle Cain in the ring in 2 seconds. I'll wrestle anybody. You know who I am. Hang on. He'd wrestle anybody." Matt, uncover your ears. You're in there, bro. You're on your way, bro. You can bro the distance. And setting up the Broberg match might be easier than ever too if NXT gets included in the long-rumoured and recently confirmed WWE draft. Now, the company announced on Sunday that SmackDown and Raw will be taking part in the talent draft come October. SmackDown on Fox will get first pick on October the 11th, and Raw will follow up on the 14th on the USA Network. Now, WWE's press release said that superstars from Raw and SmackDown will appear alongside personalities from Fox and NBC Universal programming to announce the picks for each brand. So maybe we'll get Terry Crews co-hosting and making everyone else look small. Now, the big draft episode of SmackDown comes just 1 week after the show moves to Fox, so we can basically ignore everything that happens on that first show, I guess. It is an exciting time to see what the company's big plan is for both rosters going forward, so long as it doesn't include either the word wild, or the word card, or the words permanent move to Saudi Arabia. Following up on the news of the draft, Brian Alvarez on Wrestling Observer Live said that he had heard that Vince McMahon was shown an NFL draft broadcast recently, and that because of it, WWE will have more pomp and circumstance as a result. So expect graphics, stats, video packages, wrestlers awkwardly wearing suits, and then for the pomp and circumstance, Seth Rollins on a horse, a 21-gun salute, and I guess SmackDown's latest signing, Hingleba Kringleberry. Now prepare yourself, because the news is about to be sucked into the mid-card vortex. Because the soon-to-be King, Baron, Lord, Prime Minister Corbin, Bazza Corbs, was on the Not Sam Wrestling podcast over the weekend and being brutally honest. One thing he touched upon was NXT call-ups to the main roster and the dissatisfaction of some stars and some fans with the way in which certain people have been used on Raw and SmackDown. And I guess 205 Live, if it's one of those days where you remember it exists. He said, "What's crazy is when people say, I don't want these guys to get called up so that they can be misused. Nobody is being misused. They're going to be given opportunities. They're either going to make them successful or not. That is just the way it is. There is a reason why NXT and Triple H has built an amazing thing down there, because it gets guys ready to come down here to the main roster. It's on you. It's not on anyone else. If guys are being misused, it's not anybody's fault but their own. They have to find an avenue to get successful, to get creative, to pitch ideas. And it's hard because you do get lost in the shuffle here. There are a lot of guys that I think do great things when given the opportunity, but it's all about fighting and finding that opportunity. I mean, just look at Corbin. He managed to turn an Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royale winning WrestleMania 32 debut into a role as a leading authority figure on Raw for months, a bunch of main events, and now he looks set to take the King of the Ring title. Such hardship, because for most of it he had to wear a waistcoat. And I'm not saying Corbin isn't deserving of his current spot on the roster either. I actually think he's really great. But what I'm trying to say is, some people don't get pushed as much as others do. However, Corbin doesn't have time for those crybabies. He says if something doesn't work, it's always someone else's fault or nobody wanted them to do it. It's just one of those things. It's like if you really wanted to get something and really go, people are going to appreciate it even if it takes longer than expected. I'd hope to be world champion by now. It's taken me 3.5 years. It'll come. It's just gonna take that grind. Some guys have been doing it for 6 months and are like, well, it's not gonna work out for me because I'm not champion. It's a grind. Anything worth doing is a grind. So it's that kind of thing where you can't feel sorry for yourself and you have to keep pushing. One such star for who it didn't work out at WWE is Big Cass, who was reportedly involved in a backstage incident at WrestlePro over the weekend. PW Insider said that Cass was acting erratically and threatening Joey Janela, who recently had run-ins with Cass's WWE and sometimes indie scene tag partner Enzo Amore. Cass reportedly then started accusing other talent of stealing a sweater that he'd had before getting in the face of Pat Buck, who was leaving the indie scene to work at WWE as a producer, and this was kind of his final hurrah, his last match on the indies. Reportedly, Cass asked Buck, "What are you going to do, tough guy?" before spitting in his face. Buck then punched Cass, knocking him out, and reportedly the second he hit the floor, he was confused as to why he was hit. Cass was then sent outside and sat with police, and was apparently making statements concerning himself that were alarming enough that he had to leave the venue in an ambulance. Fightful said that at one point Janela is reported to have been asked if he wanted to press charges, but declined, saying that Cass needed help. He then tweeted saying, "I'm not going to elaborate at all on this whole deal, besides that it was probably the bizarrest situation I've ever seen, let alone been part of in a wrestling locker room in 15 years. Everything was cordial and friendly on Friday, and I hope the dude gets back on the right track." And I hope so too. Thank you for watching, and thank you to all of the names scrolling away beneath me for being our awesome pledge hammers on Patreon. And if you head on over there, you can see another episode of our awesome new show, the Wrestletalk Showcase, which highlights some of the best matches and talent on the independent scene right now. If you support Wrestletalk, support indie wrestling too, and give it a watch. I've been El Fakador, and that was Lucha.